by Alina.
Thank you so much, Inés. Hello, welcome everybody. Bienvenidos to our last panel. I know. Cambio de lugar. We're gonna make a little.
We need 2 minutes to get the streaming active again,
Okay.
but we can, start maybe welcoming you again.
Sure. Of course. Yeah, it's so lovely to have everyone here. Why don't we just thank, before we wrap up, why don't we thank Princeton University Press for the space, this beautiful space we've been in really quickly?
Why don't we thank our moderators who have done a terrific job? Moderators and interpreters.
Yeah, wearing a lot of hats today, as they said in the last panel. Yeah, we have a lot of hats and we have a lot of boats today that we're navigating.
We have to rescue some swimmers.
We have to rescue some swimmers. That's definitely true. Are we ready? Okay, he's giving me the green light. Perfect. Well, today we're closing with a very exciting panel, probably the one everyone was waiting for, on politics and censorship in publishing. That's the censorship. That's the censorship. They're trying to silence us. This is a critical conversation, one that speaks to the heart of the power dynamics that shape the books we read, the authors we discover, and the stories that find their way into the world. Now, please allow me to introduce and welcome 4 incredible panelists who will share with us their extensive expertise navigating this crucial topic through their publishing careers. First, at the end, we have Nicolas Cuellar. He was born in 1991 in Guadalajara and soon moved to Mexico City to study both international relations and Latin American literature. In 2016, with Raúl Aguayo, okay, thank you, he founded Dharma Books and Publishing. This independent press has published more than 70 titles from award-winning authors whose laurels include the Pulitzer Prize, the National Book Award, the Man Booker Prize, the Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz Prize, and the Ribera del Duero Prize, among others. Zaida Carmitastein is the director of Editorial Universidad de Guadalajara, member of Alt Texto, and the advisory board of the Association of Latin American and Caribbean University Presses. Okay. Let's see. I think I might still have a little. Okay. ULAC, which she presided from 2015 to 2023. Saidi is actively involved in the Association of University and Academic Presses of Mexico and serves on its advisory board. She is also a member of the organizing committee and of the International Forum of University and Academic Presses, held at the Guadalajara International Book Fair, and in 2018 she received the Rubén Bonifaz Nuño University Presses Award granted by the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. Cristóbal Pera is vice president and publisher of Planeta USA, as we would say, USA, the North American arm of the Spanish publisher, and has recently joined Princeton University Press's Board of Trustees, sharing decades of experience as a publisher, editor, and literary agent in Europe, Latin America, and the United States. At Planeta USA, Pera heads up the publisher's bilingual publishing collaboration with Princeton University Press, which launched in 2024 with the release of Puerto Rico, A National History, Puerto Rico, Historia de una Nación, by Joel Melendez Padillo, or Jorel, I'm not sure. Okay. Prior to his leadership of Planeta USA, Pera was publishing director of Vintage Español, director of the Wiley Agency España, and the editorial director of Random House Madadori Mexico, among other roles. Pera also serves on the advisory board of George Washington University's graduate program in publishing, and previously served on the advisory boards of the Frankfurt Academy, of the Frankfurt Book Fair, and of Words Without Borders. Brigitte, thank you. Brigitte von Reinberg, we practiced this before and I still messed it up, is the Associate Director of Princeton University Press and the Director of Global Development. As Director of Global Development, she was instrumental in the opening of PUP's offices in Beijing in 2017, a crucial milestone to build a thriving global university press. She has been at the press for over 30 years in various roles, including sales, special sales, international rights, and editorial. She was the press's history publisher for over 25 years, publishing some of the press's major books in American, European, and world history. And from 2006 to 2016, she led the press's editorial program as editor-in-chief. So, I'm so excited to be with you all today. Let's welcome our guests really quickly. Yeah, great. And we're going to start out with a broad question. Always the broadest one first. How do we deal from our own sphere, so that is publishing, how do we deal with the current political situations?
Thank you so much for the great introductions. Very nice to be here. How to deal with it all? I've been asking myself this repeatedly over the last weeks and months, and what I can come up with is very general, but I think still true somehow. Stay calm, focused, carry on, sounds like the British in World War II, which is, by the way, also what President Eisgruber of Princeton said. Seek comfort in your various communities, publishing communities, the author, universities, these are all of our communities. Speak up where you can and as long as you can. Nobody's life is in danger yet, at least not ours. Other people's are unfortunately, but we must not self-censor before, before something has even happened. I think that's really, really important. Do the best you can in a small circle that you can do it. And encourage your authors and everybody you come in touch with to take courage.
Yes, I completely agree with something that you just said, everything, but the mention about self-censorship, this is the most dangerous one, because it is one that people might fall in inadvertently. And that is the most dangerous one, And we can talk about examples of self-censorship, and many of them come to mind, but that is very important. And the other thing is try to be meaningful we speak as publishers through the books that we decide to publish, and one book at a time, and one comes to mind that we were talking with Ines the other day, that can make a little difference. We are talking about a book that we are going to do together soon called American Latinos, 1935-1945. And it's an astonishing book of photographs of the Latinos, the Hispanics that were in this country at the beginning of the century. And it is very emotional at the same time. You end up in tears when you look at these photographs. And to remind readers and everybody about this reality in this country, it is meaningful, and that's what we can do.
Thank you. Well, I do agree with you. No, we don't have to panic before something happens worse than what we have, and yes, trying to be meaningful. Trying to do books that are meaningful to us and to the readers. But I would like to say that the universities in Mexico, in Mexico, most of the universities are state universities. That's one thing. And another thing is that in the name of most of these universities, we have the word autonomous. So, that's different from other countries in Latin America. Yes, and what's happening since last president and this president is that universities have been living a crisis. The government doesn't want the universities to be there. So it's not a censorship, but they're pushing the universities to, how do you say, I don't know, not to talk, not to exist, not to have money, but we are autonomous. So one thing I think we have to do is to maintain this autonomy. No, it's one thing we really have to fight to maintain the autonomy. For example, the University of Guadalajara with the last government, there was a fight for several years because they didn't want to give us, well, the state, because we receive money from the federal government and from the state government. So the state government decided not to give the money that belonged to the university because he said, let's build a hospital. And of course, I mean, everybody was saying, of course, we need a hospital. It is okay. Don't give the money to the university because after the pandemic, a hospital is something that we really need. But there are two different things, no? I mean, he can build a hospital and also give the money to the university. So I think we really have to fight for the autonomy, and because we are like special places where you can discuss everything. That's what the university is for. No, all the ideas can be discussed inside the university. So if you push the universities to, I mean, to shut up, then where are we going to discuss these ideas?
So I think it's a serious question that is possible to have a very beautiful answer. My answer is more romantic than political because I'm speaking from my position as an independent publisher. I think actually to be an independent publisher that publish poetry is already a statement about resistance, and it's already a statement against all the censorship and all the possibilities of how the governments or the global situation can make the agenda against us, you know. So I think it's a very good opportunity for the publishing houses to remember that it's in these situations where we matter the most, and when we can produce books that challenge people against their own ideologies, and maybe they can find conversations with another points of view. So I know maybe the next question it will be about how can we handle in-house about that kind of stuff. So I'm not going there yet, but yeah, I think the response sometimes it's not only on the speech but also on the practice, you know.
Thank you. I'm going to keep using this microphone because it seems to be doing okay. Thank you all for your responses. I think it's very clear that we all here at this panel have a very direct sense of the severity of the situation and what we can do as publishers. But now I'm going to be like Ohad and ask for specifics. I'm going to ask, how do you build your catalog around the current events and pressing issues? How do you choose and publish books that are relevant to this climate? I know Cristobal already talked a little bit about that, but what are some other examples in your catalog?
Okay, I'll go first, but maybe then we should change the sequence. I actually thought a little bit about this, and so we have a weekly what we call project review, where we discuss all the projects that editors are bringing in, and I'm always amazed how much what these projects are reflects the current political situation, not just maybe on a weekly or monthly basis, but sort of the zeitgeist or what's in the air. And so it's an incredible mirror of what's happening in society. I'm just going to give you a few examples. a short while ago, we published Agustin Fuentes' Sex is a Spectrum, which has, by the way, been quite ignored by the press for very strange reasons. I think this is where self-censorship already comes in. He's an anthropologist. Then we have Diane Coyle, The Measure of Progress, Counting What Really Matters. She's an economist, and she is talking about that it's not all about GDP, but it's about basically, how people feel, whether they're happy, not how big the GDP is. Then we have Musa Al-Gharbi, We Have Never Been Woke, which is in many ways also capturing what is going on, because he's pushing back against, some of the intolerance, quite frankly, that is very prevalent at our universities, where, there's also indirect censorship, and certain opinions aren't really all that welcome. And so, he spoke recently at the press. He is on all the podcasts right now, right podcasts, right-leaning podcasts, left-leaning podcasts. I mean, he really crosses the spectrum. And I mean, he is among the 4 bestsellers currently. So this tells you something. Then we have Steve Macedos and Francis Lees in COVID's Wake, How Politics Failed Us, which again, our politics editor, our philosophy editor was actually concerned to invite the author for an author's talk, because he thought it would be very controversial. But I think it is very important to discuss these questions very, very, very openly also. Marxist Capital, the new translation in English is also one of our bestsellers, so this also tells you something. And then the other bestseller, which we also discussed press-wide among all the colleagues, is AI Snake Oil. What artificial intelligence can do, what it can't, and how to tell the difference, written by 2 Princeton computer scientists. And that's a terrific book that has really helped me sort through some of the issues of artificial intelligence that were also discussed earlier on. So it's, just this short list tells you something.
Well, I like to discuss a lot with the authors to see what's going on in their mind and what they think it's important to say, and how can we create, or how to say, critical citizens. No, what are we going to do so the students can be critical citizens after they go out of the university? No, and so that's the way we know what's going on, what the people is feeling, and what they need to know. And especially, we have a collection that it's made from a center of advanced studies in Latin America that have the presidency in the University of Guadalajara. It's collection that speaks about the different type of crisis we are living now, no? And it's a co-edition between 4 German universities, where the University of Bielefeld is the most important phase. And then we have the University of Guadalajara. We are doing the books in Spanish. And then I send the files to the University of Costa Rica, Flaxo, Ecuador, and the University of San Martin, Universidad Nacional de San Martin in Buenos Aires. And we talk about economical crisis, we talk about political crisis in all the different countries in Latin America, we talk about environmental crisis, we talk about educational crisis, but the most important thing of these books is that they not only criticize what's going on, they are giving some strategies to work with. No? And now this collection, it has 20 5 titles. We are very happy with this collection because it has maintained the level, of the prestige. But also the question is who is reading us, no? Because I think the yes, I mean, as a university press, I think we can publish almost everything, no? Because nobody is, it's really making a censorship against us. But who is reading these books that they're talking about, I mean, against our governments now or things like that? So, I mean, it's important to publish, but it's also important to have this conversation a little wider, no? The one or the one?
So I think more than talk about few books, I mean, more than the cherry picking of books in your catalog, I mean, we have 2 books that one, the both are poetry. One is Un montón de escritura para nada. It's a lot of writing for nothing, the Sara Uribe. It's a book about, she criticized like the work of a writer in this modern era when in this modern era when I don't know in a poem, for example, she asked herself how much for how much do I sell a poem, you know? They contact me for a magazine and they ask me for a poem, so how much is the value of a poem, you know? So that kind of questions that I like a lot for my publishing house. Also, we have another book, also a poetry book, Inti Garcia Santamaria, and he writes about how it is to be a writer in the periferia, in the, yeah. And for example, in one poem, he wrote that like, they always told me that you live so far. So he asked himself, so far from what or from there, you know? So something about gentrification. So that kind of books, we have that kind of books, but more than make a few selection, I think one of the most hard things for me as an editor, and it's a question that I've been making myself since a few years ago, is what's the responsibility of a publishing house and an editor about some books or about some authors. So we are judges, we are not judges, we are like only a way to like an idea be like on the light. So it's our obligation to make assumptions or judgments about the authors of their on personal lives or about the books. I don't know. I don't have the answer yet, but I think it's a very good question, you know, because I think that's where the most like important hot stuff is now. I don't know if you saw the case that is now currently in the eye of the public, the book El Odio, the hate, the anagrama book, that it's been like retirado, yeah, withdrawn of the circulation because the author didn't like interview the family, that he was like the mother that the kids were killed. So the question is, it's the editorial obligation, the publishing house, sorry, the obligation to review that, or it was the author obligation, you know? So it's the public, so you can like sell the book, and the audience is the one that should like make a statement to buy or not to buy the book. I don't know. So I think that's like.
Well, I would just say that working in a big publishing company, and it is, I mean, as an editor, you can you can decide if you want to, and if you have power of decision, to make your little fight in certain areas. Because a big publishing company is an industry, and they live out of best-selling books, and that is a fact. It is not even a university press needs not all of them, but have general trade books that are going to go to bookstores and you can sell better. It is part of our business. It is the reality. With all respect for independent publishers, which is but about this small fight, well, I myself can decide, for instance, to publish a book that as we are doing now, about racism in the Caribbean by a great Puerto Rican writer, Luis Rafael Sanchez. It's called Piel Sospechosa, a wonderful book. And it is my personal pride that I can publish this. We are going to distribute it in Puerto Rico and everywhere, or buy a book about the history of Latinos in Latin America by a professor, and we are going to do that, or the example that I was mentioning before. So I have to play that in a smaller scale within the publishing company, knowing that these are not the books that are going to drive the business. Okay?
Thank you guys so much. Nicolas, you actually posed a question that we were going to ask, so I'll have I'll also have us respond to this idea of responsibility. So, very good, you're ahead of me. What responsibility do publishers and authors have when it comes to navigating political pressures? How do you balance artistic freedom with the risk of backlash? So this is more continuing in depth what we just discussed, but thinking about what is our role and responsibility. Would anyone like to start? Sacrificial lamb.
Well, this is recording, right? I don't want to be canceled after this conference, but it's a very, very, very hard question and a very hard answer, because it's like the common phrase that it's you can separate the author from the work or not. So I don't know if the conversation has to be in that way. I think the conversation is more like, how do you see as an editor or a publisher? Because I think there are two different things that Claudio Lopez Lamadrid once said. It's different be a publisher than an editor. So I think it's the vision that you have for your catalog. You know, la coherencia, the coherence. Thank you. And I think it's more like why do you think that book is necessary for the public? What do you think that book or what do you think that book will bring to the conversation? And I think that's the way to have a good path, you know, and not to be like the judge or the la policía de la corrección. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the way.
Because you just mentioned Claudio Lopez Madrid was my dear friend. I miss a lot, and it's a good example because he was also in Pengorano House with me, and I'm in publishing with because of him. We were friends since we were 16, 17, and you know his story probably a little bit, and he was like a Trojan horse. He was in a big corporation, like Pengorano House, but he had a mentality of an independent editor, you know, and that is a very interesting position. And I am remembering also something about responsibility, and yes, I spent 10 years in Mexico as a publishing director of Pengorano House. In fact, Claudio sent me there from Barcelona. And in Mexico, something that you know very well, so and, most of the publishing business is driven by the government. Maybe 60% of all the books made, or even more, come from government contracts and publication, etc. And when I arrived to Mexico, and this is just an anecdote, and I have several of them. And you know that I arrived in 2016. I arrived, sorry, in 2006. I'm sorry, and suddenly a book arrived to my desk from Carmen Aristegui, a great journalist in Mexico, and she had this book about the candidates that were fighting for the presidency: Andrés Manuel López Obrador, Calderón, and the one from a PRI, La Bastida, I think. And she arrived saying, well, I had this book already under contract. In fact, it was not her. No, it was the publishing company, Porrua. And I'm saying, sorry, I said the name. Maybe I shouldn't have said the name. But they had big business with the government because a big part of their production was making books for the government. Like many publishing companies in Mexico. Am I right? Yes. And what happened is that they said, now we cannot publish this book because it's going to be very controversial. There are political statements about this. Do you want it? And I said, oh, yes, I want it. Of course I want it. We didn't have those ties with the government contracts, so I didn't have that problem. And I published the book. We had a window of 2 months to make it happen because the election was coming, and it was a big success, and I became the publisher of Carmen Aristegui, who became a good friend. But this is an example of how the ties with governments in Latin America, I don't know, in other places, can make you self-censor, censor your own list, you know? Sorry,
No, because you were talking about Mexico, so. No, I mean, you are right. I mean, before the last government, the publishing industry, of course, depend on the government, but last government, especially last government, he decided to cut this, no? So they don't care anymore about the publishing industry, they don't care anymore about the cultural industry or the educational world. So they stop helping the publishing industry, and they gave all the power to Fondo de Cultura Económica, and they have destroyed a lot of things. So we are really very worried about what has been destroyed. They destroyed the radio, the state radio, they destroyed the state television, they destroyed the publishing industry, they're destroying all the cultural and intellectual things. That's why in the beginning I was telling you about the crisis we have in the universities, because they want to destroy all the intellectual thing or the thinking places, no?
The question is it right? Is it that government has so much power on an
No,
publishing industry?
no, no.
In that sense, they already have they had the biggest publishing company. You mentioned Fondo de Cultura Económica, which was a behemoth of a no. But what I was wondering if it's not in a way healthy that they began cutting contracts with publishing companies that really live only out of these sales that are firm and sure, and I don't know. It is just a thought.
I think it's not healthy one thing or the other thing. I mean, it's not healthy that the the publishing industry depends on the government, and it's not healthy that the government is killing all the cultural thing or whatever. It's no the radio, the television, the whatever. Yes, the all the how to say the places where we have the diversity, the in opinion, no. So they have by the press. The press is absolutely yes, no, a servant. So I don't. I think both of the things are very bad, no. And I was wondering, no, for example, now if I want to make a book that talks against the government, can I do it? I mean, or they will. Yes, it is true. No, because what is going to happen? Maybe the dean of the university is coming to me and said, "Sari, stop doing that because we are going to have problems with the government, and we don't want to have problems with the government." I mean, as I told you, we have a lot of problems in the last 6 years. But for example, now in Mexico, we are having a very, very bad situation with the narco. And in Jalisco, where I live, they already found in Teuchitlan a place where they kill a lot of people, and it was horrible. They disappear people and then kill them. So, and it's really a problem in the country. I mean, a lot of people is disappearing. We have more people killed than in a war. So I was wondering, can I do a book about this? I mean, we need to talk about this. We really need to talk about this. It's not that I want to have a fight with the narco, but we really need to talk about this. I mean, no? Yes, I know you mentioned yesterday you have a book, but what is going to happen? How can I do this book? Where do I start? And is it going to be a problem or not? I mean, I think the editors and the publishers, we have a social responsibility. For sure, we have a social responsibility. And this thing in our country, I mean, in Mexico, now it's so important that, yes, we need to put the discussion on the table, no?
Just to say, I mean, just listening to you, it hits me how different our situation still is. You know, I mean, I think about especially at a place like Princeton University Press, you know, where we are so privileged to be also affiliated with Princeton University, was a private university. You know, we have an endowment at the press. We are independent in many ways. We also have many of the features that an independent publisher has. So I don't think any of our editors has ever, I want to say maybe not ever, you know, really had to have asked themselves this really important question, you know. I mean, it could actually be like quite consequential, right? I only question the editors here have ever had to ask themselves is, you know, am I true to myself, or does this, you know, is this a book that I'm passionate about, or when I was an editor, you know, do I want to publish in an area that, you know, that is very like not on vogue publishing, because I just want to pioneer an area because I'm really frustrated that certain books, like let's say in American political history, never gets published because everything was talking about culture and gender and blah, 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 blah. That was 25 years ago, so I started a political history list, but I mean, that seems like tame and almost like ridiculous compared to, you know, some of the concerns that my colleagues have. Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is really impressive, and you know that it's true. Yes. No, it comes to so many things come to mind because I've had not one but several authors that had to come to my office in Mexico to talk about their new book with bodyguards. and this is now. I think it was not normal. I came to realize, but Lydia Cacho, for instance, you know who she is. Anabel Hernandez, my author. I mean, they had to come with bodyguards provided by the city because they were threatened. But the threats could be from the narcos, but in many cases from the government. Okay, and you know the story of Lydia Cacho. So this is now when you say about the editors, do I have to? Well, you have to think about these things because it has to be with safety. And to tell you the truth, I published a few books about corruption of ex-presidents, or that I made me feel unsafe about my own security. So
It might come to that here as well.
Would you like to respond, Nico?
Comment. But also I think it's a very good question, the one that you told us that the editors here ask themselves that I'm be honest or with myself, and I'm passionate about this book because I think that's the like the most important question for an editor, you know, because there are a lot of causes in the world, like causes, and you cannot be passionate about all at the same level, you know. So the filter is that question, like first that question, and after that question, it's which cause I'm gonna like abanderar, like yeah. What fight do I? Yeah, yeah. Only that.
No, thank you so much. That was an awesome discussion, and you guys keep getting ahead of me because my next question was, do you feel free to publish anything, publish anything you want, which is what we were just talking about. But I'd like to invite some more responses to that, thinking especially since we have different types of editors here at our table. We have independent editors as well as large editors as well as university editors. So what things do you feel free to publish? And then also, what role can you play in circumventing or confronting censorship? Okay? Give you a second to think.
I think we feel free. I mean, this might sound naive to publish anything, and we don't have to circumvent censorship yet. I think the most dangerous part is the self-censorship part. And I mean, it is a strong element. I mean, even I experience this as an editor. I mean, I don't want to paint myself at all as a victim, but just a very small example. As the history editor, I had identified military history as a potentially really important topic. After all, what are we talking about? NATO and Europe now rearming, etc., because I think our pacifist European century or period might just be over. So anyway, military history seemed to me a good area to engage in. The academy, I don't think thinks so. So the one military history book I brought to the board, I'm still thinking about it. It was not received well at all. Like I felt like I really had to go and hide that I dared bring something like that, and that really has left a mark. So I mean, there is really censorship and and yeah.
I don't know what to say. I was gonna say that you the things that you pick or not pick to publish, or what categories you want to follow. You were mentioning military, but when you need to design a strategy to grow, for instance, an easy way sometimes is to, and some publishers do that. They make a study of what is selling in the market, and they decided, okay, let's go in this direction. If you look at what is the best-selling category in Spanish in the U.S., it's religion. The books that sell most, I mean, by far, are Bibles. This is their reality. I mean, this is BookScan sells. Tells you a lot about, and a lot of them are Christian, not even Catholic, Christian, big. So you as an editor can decide not to follow some pressures, say, okay, I'm not going to publish Bibles because there are other people that publish them very well, and I'm not interested. And these are, I mean, this is not censorship, but it has to do with what path you follow in this.
Well, I want to, because I think we have more or less answered your question, no? I mean, about censorship or what to publish or not to publish. And yes, I mean, you are building your catalog with your own mission. I mean, for us in the University of Guadalajara, of course, our first mission is to educate. No, I mean, or to help to do the education that the university is doing, and to do scholar books, and also to have some cultural books or other kind of books that talk about our community and our country and Latin America, and also to bring knowledge from outside to inside, and trying to take the knowledge from the inside to the outside. But I would like to talk about the Guadalajara International Book Fair, because the fair belongs to the university, and the fair has become a place where all the ideas can be put there. I mean, that everybody can go to the fair and talk about any book of any subject and everything, but still there are some small things that that the fair has to talk about, and it's a fight that the fair has been doing, for a lot of years, that there is against the government, especially against the government. No, when, for example, Paco Ignacio Taibo was nominated, or how do you say, director of Fondo de Cultura Económica, he started a fight against the fair, saying so many stupid things. Really, really, it was a very big fight, between the government and the University of Guadalajara, that because they were attacking the fair, and the fair is very, very important, not only for the Mexican publishing industry, but for the Spanish publishing industry and for many other things. So, and also because when there's a few years that the presidents don't come to the fair, because because we have this fight, and because before, when the president used to come to the fair, they how to say, they show their stupidity, really, because they were so ignorant, all of them, that it was that the fair really. I mean,
I would like to add that I mean, this is for you, that the contribution that the Universidad de Guadalajara has made to the book world is just amazing. I mean, just creating. No, I know, but you are from Guadalajara. I mean, it is unbelievable how, with the leadership of Raúl Padilla at the time, they created this book fair that has become the second biggest book fair in the world in any language, And this is very, very important. But the same happens, I mean, just Princeton University Press creating this forum today. Once I was in a conversation and they were asking about what were the capitals of the publishing world. Some people were saying Barcelona had been, then if Mexico had become a capital, and it came to my mind that the real capitals of the publishing world and the literature, now are the book fairs. In Guadalajara, the Guadalajara Book Fair would be, in my opinion, the first capital of the publishing world. You know? And then the Hay Festival, for instance, they create these forums. They are not cities anymore. They are this moving feast of fairs. In Buenos Aires, the book fair. So that's when I wanted to say after you mentioned the book fair.
Yes, because I think Raúl Padilla, well, he did a lot to have Sphere open to all kind of ideas. And I remember the last years he was alive, he was always fighting with the government, always fighting. So always the inauguration of the fair was, how do you say, well, we were always expecting what problems will we have this year, no? Because I don't know, because Israel was the invited of honor, because whatever, because they decided to change the Spain, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, so, but the fair is a play. No, it's a fair. It's a festival. It's a cultural interchange. It's a dialogue. No, but also it's a place where you can share all the ideas, where all the reflections can be held there. And that's a fight that we have every year in the fair. And for us, the University Press is to help the fair to keep strong and to, I mean, to maintain this liberty, no? How to say, this freedom.
Well, at in Dharma, I have fully liberty to publish whatever I want. We want. Um, we published the book about forced disappearance. Uh, I mean, we have a fight with Paco Ignacio Taibo also. When he decided that Mexico, we will not be at the Frankfurt Fair, so we raise our hand and we go to the Frankfurt Fair and we bring another publishing houses. So after that, we have problems with the Fondo de Cultura Económica to place our books there, but that's already on the past. But I mean, we have a lot of liberty. I think our only problem it's the money. It's not an active censorship. It's like a passive censorship. You know, it's not. Uh, I mean, it's not like someone is like shutting us down, but it's the ecosystem that is like uh, harder for us to publish all the books that we want to publish, and we a lot of books they are already signed, the advances are already paid, and the money is not coming the way that we need or we want. So our censorship, unfortunately, it's economic, and that's a thing that we have to embrace and deal with it. We are looking and seeking for investors like since 4 years ago, and it's hard to in Mexico, like someone wants to invest in a cultural project. All the Mexicans want to open a Argentinian restaurant. I don't know why. We have like 2,000 Argentinian restaurants that they have the same name. It's like a to Maradona or a reference to Messi or a reference to grill and brasa and wine. So it's become very boring. And all so yeah, that's the country that we have to embrace also. But yeah, we have fully liberty.
Thank you so much. That's very kind. Well, thank you for all those reflections. And really, we just have a few minutes left. So I wanted to ask you for some final reflections and maybe where you see the future of publishing right now in this kind of brave new world, I'll say. So final reflections, final thoughts about the future of maintaining this liberty of the press, right? Anyone wants to start? I'm sorry, I keep making you start.
It's okay. I think the future is strong. I think our strength is our people, and our people are amazing. They are very passionate about what they're doing. They have a vision. They have determination. We have networks around the globe. We just spent a week with our Chinese colleague, Ling Li, who heads the Beijing office. She interacted with everybody, and just her message to us that we are so connected also with the Chinese Academy and with Chinese academics who rely on us and on our information system. All of our books are available in China now, not in translation, but in an English edition. And we've established conversations between East and West. We also hope to publish more Chinese scholars and bring them to the press. So we are creating all these ecosystems, these global ecosystems. So I'm really, really hopeful that we can together put our force, the force of ideas, the very best ideas that we have and which we seek to publish against these forces of oppression. I think that in the end, we will win and we will be victorious. I really, really do believe that, and my colleagues in China believe it too. And there has been censorship for very long time, obviously, but we navigate it, and it's not as black and white as it might look from here. It's very. Yeah, I've been to China many times, and it can be navigated also. Books can be imported by, if they're not imported by the main importer, China National, they might be getting imported by some other importer, So we have also learned to navigate the system. So I think, as Michael Reynolds, I think, said earlier on, we can outsmart, I think, a lot of the hostile forces. So I'm optimistic.
Thank you, Birgitta. I agree again with you, always. And I see a strong future also. The resilience of the books is unbelievable. As someone was mentioning before, I think Alejandra, about the time 10 years ago when the digital books were coming and the people were thinking that this was going to disappear. But I will say that with data. I work in Spanish in the US. And at this moment when the White House shuts down the website in Spanish, when they decide that the only language, official language is English, my answer is just the facts. And I can tell you that Spanish books sales are growing steadily in the United States, much more than English, proportionally, of course. We're talking about a small market in comparison. But, this year, last year could be 20% more than last year. And this is big. And so we have to count on this readership to be optimistic. And if they are reading, and then the young people are driving also these sales. Young adult books are selling more than ever. You have these people, young people reading in Spanish, which are going to keep reading in the future. So in this case, I'm not going to talk about the specific books, but just my hope and my feeling is that we have a strong future.
Thank you. Well, I think that what we have to do is to maintain our congruency, or how do you say? Yes? Congruencia. Coherence. We have to maintain it. And No, I mean, of course, I am optimistic. I mean, I think we have a lot to do. No, there's always a new project and another project and another thing we can do. And as a university publisher, I think we are convinced with that knowledge belongs to everybody, and we need to help to spread the knowledge, really, to circulate the knowledge. And that's one thing that we really have to, I don't know, to push, no, and to fight for this recognition of the Spanish writers. I mean, the thinking in Spanish or the thinking in other languages, the cultural thing, because they're different and all of them are valuable, no?
In Mexico and for the independent publishing, I think the future is in the working together for a distribution, a good distribution of the books in the market. I mean, in Dharma, we are very lucky that we have our distribution with Oceano, that is a huge distribution company. We are the only Mexican publishing house in literature that they distribute, but we are lucky for that. But besides that, a lot of very good publishing houses, they lack of a good distribution, and it's unfortunately it's a thing that has already shut down a lot of good projects. So um, once in Frankfurt also I met an editor from Denmark, and he told me that all the publishing houses in Denmark own the distribution company, and all the publishing houses like operates the distribution company, and so it's a common interest that the distribution works, because they know that they are, if they are strong, they are strong together. So I think that's one thing that I hope someday will happen in Mexico, and also that don't not to forget that the novels are novels, and they are fiction, and not the, I don't know. Sometimes the readers forget that the fiction is fiction. So don't forget that. And I don't know. Thank you, Nora. Thank you so much, Ines. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. And
This one works better. So in summary, bregamos, right? That's what we do. Thank you so much to this lovely panel. Let's give them a round of applause. And now we've got some time for questions, if anyone has any questions. Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. Let's give another round of applause for Cristobal. Thank you so much. No, of course. No, please. Thank you so much. Any other questions while we're heading out? Everybody's hungry, I think. If not, I can ask another one. I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice, though. Just to wrap up, maybe on this panel, maybe we can talk about a couple projects we're really proud of. We've talked about some of them already, but if you have any projects that you're super proud of in your work that you think are really representative of your footprint. That makes sense? Yeah.
yeah, we are very proud that we published Ariana Harvich in Mexico. Like, we didn't understand why she was like waiting like for 10 years to be published in Mexico. She published Matate Amor, Die My Love in Argentina like 12 years ago, before we published her in Mexico. It's a great book. Now it's going to be on movie in theaters, So go watch the movie and after that buy the Dharma book. Yeah, we are also very proud to have a very huge poetry collection because in Mexico there are a few publishing houses that they they like embrace the poetry. It's a hard business, but actually for us, it's a very good selling collection. We already like sold out all our first editions of all the poetry books. So I think more people reads poetry than we think. Um, of course, we're proud to have a Cristina Rivera Garza in our catalog, and Fernanda Trias, Sara Uribe. So I think we have a very good catalog for an independent house that it's only 8 years, almost 9.
Well, I like a lot of books that we have made, but one collection that I would like to talk to you is a collection about music. No, uh, it's I wanted to share something or to do something that that we share all Latin American countries, no? And because I was the president of the Latin American and the Caribbean University Presses, I wanted to share something. So we thought that the music could be something that we could do and that were something that we already share. And music is a universal language, and so we thought about doing a book about cumbia, no? But then I realized that only the Spanish-speaking countries dance cumbia. Here it is, no? So it's called Cumbia Somos, and it's a book we did in in Colombia by the University of El Rosario and Universidad del Rosario and Universidad del Norte, and in Peru here with LIA, la Universidad Peruana de Ciencias Aplicadas, and in Chile with la Universidad Católica de Chile, and in Argentina with EUDEBA, that is the University Press of the University of Buenos Aires, and in Guadalajara, no? And then I was very unhappy because Brazil was not here, because Brazil doesn't dance cumbia. So next year, that means this year, we made a book about Brazilian music, no? And it has been something wonderful because we have the musicians, and then we have the writers that really are in love with music, talking about these musicians, and then we have the university presses behind, all together, doing one project that it's very important to our cultural patrimony, how do you say, yeah? And it has been great doing these books, really.
And I just want to not talk about books, but about two lecture series that I'm very, very proud and excited about. The one is the Princeton China lectures, which we are co-sponsoring with Peking University. We had the first lecture last year. We will have the second lecture this year during the Beijing Book Fair, and then we have just also established the Latin American Global Lectures, which will happen next year. And the first lecture, since you mentioned the name, will be Cristina Rivera Garza. I read, because of Ines, she gave it to me, Liliana's last summer, and I was absolutely devastated and absolutely astounded at the power of this book, and to know that she has agreed to give the lectures that here in Princeton and also at the Colegio de Mexico, with whom we partner, is for me really, I mean, just amazing. So thank you, Ines, and everybody who's worked on it, especially you.
I know I'll be there. That's awesome. Okay, last time for questions, comments, concerns, chismes, something you want to share? Okay, anyone here on the panel want to say one last thing? Okay, we're ready. We're ready to dance, I think. So let's thank our panel one more time. And let's thank Inés one more time for hosting us. Woo, woo, woo. And thank you all. Let's go eat and let's dance.